now. There ain't many things in this world that speak to me, but one of them is gumbo. And that there is some good gumbo. Now tell me about it, friend. Come on, Xavier. Get a big bite of this gumbo now. Come on now. A big bite now. Go on, Xavier.
Cut! Get me the alligator people now. What is wrong with this thing?
What is wrong with this thing, Todd? Why don't we have that raccoon from last season? How about that?
We'll get it.
Oh, how about like a catfish or a mud bug or maybe an egret or something? Something ain't gonna smoke up the place like that thing does all the
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Alton Brown. I have the cooking show just next door there.
Oh, well, is that a fact? Well, we're just gonna have ourselves a picnic then. I'll bring the gumbo.
Okay.
Come on, have a little taste now. She ain't gonna bite. Come on now. Ain't gonna bite much. Woo! She got a little kick to her, don't she?
Yeah. Little kick.
Yeah, that's Cajun, boy. Spicy! Woo!
Yeah, you know that. That old spicy thing's really just a myth perpetuated by the global restaurant industrial complex to sell spicy ribs and, I don't know, gator bits.
You calling my food global, boy?
No, it's just that if...
I'm just messing with you. Yeah. But you know, besides gumbo, it's a state of mind.
Yeah? Well, I've kind of always thought of gumbo as the real foundation of Cajun cuisine, you know, because it so perfectly reflects the kind of polycultural ramblings of the Acadian people, you know what I mean? In fact, I would say that gumbo is more indicative of American cuisine than even apple pie, probably.
You Cajun?
No.
You Creole?
No.
Well then, why don't you just leave gumbo to those of us who know, and you stick to what it is you know. I mean, whatever it is. What's the name of your little old cooking show over there anywho, huh?
We like to call it... Ooh. How's about you leave the gumbo to us that knows? Why, I oughta. I tell you right now, that man is no more Cajun than Captain Kangaroo, gumbo, Creole. I'll grant you, Creole and Cajun cuisines share many elements, but there are significant differences. I mean, Creole's a cuisine of New Orleans. It was town food, genteel, and in the beginning, at least, slave-produced. It's fairly refined and rich with cream and butter. Light roux are used and a lot more tomatoes than in Cajun cuisine, which is rough and rural and has more to do with, well, you know, Canada than New Orleans. Yeah, well, where do you think Cajuns are from, anyway? Back in 1755, the British forced the French population of what was then Acadia in Nova Scotia to take an oath of allegiance to the British crown, which had finagled their way into the land. Being French, they said, "We throw our rotting skunks in your general direction." What followed was an ethnic cleansing known as the Great Upheaval. 6,000 to 7,000 Acadians were forced from their homes and their land. Some were shipped to places as far away as the Falkland Islands. Some were shipped back to France. Others were booted into British prisons. About 1,600 or so made their way to Louisiana, marking the first mass immigration within the United States, or at least what was going to eventually be the United States. Now, the region's Spanish rulers welcomed these immigrants, partly because they hoped to bolster the Catholic population of the region. Over the following decades, the Acadians intermarried with locals, including members of several Native American nations. Eventually, because of a twist of the local tongue, the word Acadian became Cajun. Okay, there's more to it than this. I speak, of course, of the food. Because of their wanderings, Cajun cuisine contains foods from just about every possible culture you can imagine, from Europe, Africa, the islands, you name it. No dish sums this up more than gumbo. Okay, gumbo, the single pot stew that supposedly can contain anything that crawls, flies, swims, or walks. I say one pot, but not just any one pot will do. No, we need something in the 128-ounce range, and it needs to be made out of a metal heavy enough to conduct heat efficiently. I speak, of course, of cast iron. And this little blue enamel number is my very favorite. First thing to go in, a roux. That is the first step of just about any bit of Cajun cooking. Now, a roux, of course, is a traditional French thickener composed of equal portions of fat and flour. The French would usually use butter, but that would be a little rich for the traditional Cajun, so we will go with 4 ounces of vegetable oil. Now, the number one rudimentary mistake, it's funny, that the average cook would make would be using equal portions by volume of flour, but weight is actually what we want. So we're going to go for 4 ounces by weight of flour. This is just all-purpose flour. There we go. Now, this gets whisked directly into the pot, creating something that looks amazingly like library paste. Here, I'm going to turn this on to medium heat. There we go. Now, this will thicken just about anything, which is why the French use it in just about every soup and sauce that I can think of. What does the roux actually do? Well, it would be, well, oh, come here. Okay, let's say that this is a grain of flour. I know, last time we saw him, it was a grain of rice, but work with me here, okay? Now, when this granule cooks in liquid, it swells and eventually bursts, sending tangles of starch molecules out into the liquid, thus thickening it. However, when you have two or more of these guys, and hot liquid is introduced, they tend to stick to each other, forming nasty clumps in your soup, sauce, or stew. By cooking them in fat, each granule is essentially coated and protected from water, at least until you've had time to thoroughly whisk them into the liquid of your choice. As a result, there will be no clumping. Get up. Right. But wait, there's more. Another benefit of cooking the flour in hot fat is that you essentially fry the granules. Okay, good. This high heat will help the granules to replace their raw cereal flavor with roasty, toasty, nutty goodness. Well, I'm still whisking, but that's okay. Roux take a good bit of time. We'll take a moment to examine the degrees of roux-dom, shall we? Now, when a roux first comes together, it is referred to as a white roux, which has a good bit of thickening power, but very little flavor. As it cooks for a few more minutes, it becomes a blonde roux. Little darker, little less thickening power, little more flavor. Then it moves into what we call the brown roux stage, which is where we are over here. A little less thickening power, but really starting to develop some nice nutty notes, if you would. Eventually, we will come to where we are looking to go, the dark or brick roux. Now, the dark or brick roux has 4 times less thickening power than the original white roux, but what it lacks in thickening power, it more than makes up for in amazing depth and a smoky goodness of flavor. Of course, the trick is that getting to that stage takes a good bit of time, 30 or 40 minutes easy. Now, we could get around that by boosting the heat, but then we run into the danger of getting straight to the black roux, which means it's completely, double bother. It appears that I've moved directly from the brown roux stage to the black roux stage. As you can see, it's almost brick in a few places, but the little black specks, yeah, that's ruined. Well, that's okay. It's the last one of those you'll see today. I'll just make another.
Frere Jacques, I smell roux, smells like, whoa, I'm afraid you have to throw this out, unless you got a hole in your roof you want to patch. See you in the bayou,
Bye-bye to you too, you bayou bum. Well, what have we learned, kids? Well, we learned that if we want to make a decent dark roux without burning it, we're going to have to find a method of cooking that doesn't involve direct heat, doesn't involve constant tending, and doesn't involve the constant threat of disaster at every moment. And we need direct heat making you roux the day. Then just use the indirect method. Place your pot in a 350-degree oven, add your 4 ounces of vegetable oil, your 4 ounces by weight of all-purpose flour, and whisk into a nice paste. Oh, there we go. we go. And let this cook. Now, you're going to want to let it go for about an hour and a half. You know, give or take 15 minutes or so. You want it to look basically the color of brick, very, very dark red. There we go. Now, thing, I've got to go to the grocery store. I want you to keep your eyes on this. Anything that crawls, slithers, swims, or flies is how the saying goes. But of all the possible gumbo critter scenarios, the one that makes the most sense to me is seafood. After all, there's little doubt that bouillabaisse, the classic provincial fish stew, influenced gumbo's conception. And to me, nothing says born on the bayou, not just pretending, like a good shrimp gumbo. Now, if we were in Cajun country, we'd probably go with crawfish or frog legs or both. But for most folks, 1.5 pounds of raw medium-sized head-on shrimp like these Gulf Whites would do nicely. And yes, be sure to purchase whole head-on if at all possible. The heads are full of goodness, and we do not want to waste it. Of course, the goodness of which I speak is, well, the guts, which is why whole shrimp tend to go south quicker than tails only. So be on the lookout for the warning signs of bad shrimp, such as black streaks, pitted shells, or sour smells. And please, only purchase from a reputable vendor. For those of you who have not committed our classic episode, Crustacean Nation 1, to memory, let us review shrimp disassembly. Number 1, grasp the shrimp. Number 2, rip his wee head off. Now, in many cultures, this would simply go to the trash can, but in Cajun cuisine, this is serious currency, so it goes into the stock pot thusly. Now, as for the rest of the shrimp, we'll take a little pair of nail scissors here, and I like to just cut right down the back. I got a couple of reasons for doing this. One is it is going to make peeling off the shell and the legs very, very simple. Everything should kind of come off in one fell swoop, antennas included. And that also opens up this area, which reveals, there it is, boys and girls, the vein. Now, guess what? This isn't a vein. It's a digestive tract. And that means that the dark stuff inside isn't blood. So we're going to want to rinse that out. The easiest way to get it out is just to put that down underwater, and it should float out very nicely. And once that is out of the way, we will move our shrimp to a clean containment vessel. For now, we will stash our newly naked shrimp in the chill chest. These heads, tails, and various exoskeletal remains are packed with shrimpy goodness. We only need to extract them with the proper application of time, heat, and water. I'd say about 2 quarts should do the job. Bring this to a boil, and then lower the heat and maintain a simmer for about an hour, or until the liquid has reduced by half. Having surrendered their shrimpy essence, the spent heads, tails, and whatnot are strained out. Now, the remaining stock can be used immediately or cooled and frozen for up to 6 months. There we have it. A perfect brick root. And we didn't even have to suffer. Now, do remember, this stuff is not called Cajun napalm for nothing. It is hot, it is viscous, and if it gets on you, it bites. So be very, very careful. Now, I'm going to put this straight over medium-high heat and then add 1 cup of diced onions, 1/2 cup of diced celery, and 1/2 cup of diced green peppers. And we will stir that in. Now, Cajuns and Creoles call this the Trinity, a natural mutation of the French mirepoix, that combination of 2 parts onion, 1 part carrot and celery that forms the backbone of French cuisine. Oh, and at this point, go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of chopped garlic. There, we're going to cook this for 7 to 8 minutes. But you want to keep it moving to avoid overheating the veggies, so no shortcuts. Now, I'm okay with that. I don't want to endlessly stir a roux, but standing around a pot of gumbo, it's part of Cajun culture where food is really an event meant to be shared with friends and family alike. In fact, some gumbos are actually meant to be shared with an entire community. Consider the collier du Mardi Gras. This peculiar Cajun Mardi Gras tradition involves a bunch of guys dressing up in colorful masks and costumes, riding around the countryside on horseback, begging for gumbo ingredients. They dance and sing in hopes of receiving chicken, sausage, rice, or onions for their pot, which at the end of the evening is served to the entire community. Now that the onions are nice and tender, we add the rest of the software. 1/2 cup of peeled, seeded, and chopped tomatoes, canned or fresh. 1/2 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. A tablespoon of kosher salt. 1 teaspoon of chopped fresh thyme. And 2 bay leaves, which we will fish out later. Last but not least, a wee bit of spice in the form of 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. Bam! Did you hear something? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, time to add the shrimp stock. Now, there's a lot of fat down here. This is all water, so there's going to be some hissing. So go slowly. Just pour in the stock, whisking continuously. There you go. Everything's in. Good. Now, decrease the heat to low, cover, and we're going to cook that for 35 minutes. And in the meantime, we will discuss sausage. Now, no good gumbo is complete without a hearty sausage. Traditionally, of course, a Cajun sausage would be used. Some folks like a boudin, which is a sausage stuffed with seasoned pork and rice. But I'm a purist, and that means andouille, a highly seasoned and very smoky sausage made with ham instead of plain old... Oh, heck. I'm out. Wait a second. I'm not out of nothing yet.
I ran the alligator last time and it sure turned.
You're like such a little girl, you know that.
Don't mess with me. I'm a trained cage fighter.
Oh, I'm scared now. Don't run the alligator.
Okay.
I declare, monsieur, what we need right now is some good old-fashioned mayonnaise. That's right. Oh, gracious me, I forgot my andouille. What?
Cut! Culinary!
Amateurs!
Half a pound of sausage, sliced thin, will do very, very nicely. Now, this could go straight into the gumbo, but I prefer to brown it first. A little extra flavor for the price of, I don't know, a dirty pan. Now, everybody, in the pool. Sausage in, and the shrimp in, and kill the heat. Oh, don't worry, there's enough residual heat in here to cook that shrimp through. Now, since we opted for a brick roux early on, we are going to require some assistance in the thickening department. But don't worry, help is close at hand. Those who saw our okra show know that this popular southern seed pod has a certain sliminess on the inside that when cooked can thicken the surrounding liquid. Now, the fact that gumbo shares more than a few letters with the West African word for okra, going gumbo, I think it is, should pretty much cinch okra's fate as the sole gumbo thickener of choice. But there is another. Filet powder comes from the sassafras tree. It is the same tree whose roots have been used at various times as a medicinal cure, a tea substitute, a leather curing agent, and a flavoring agent for root beer. Now, filet is not made from the roots of the sassafras, but rather the young leaves that have been dried and ground into a fine powder. So the question is, what works best? Okra or filet? Well, either will work here, but consider this. Filet powder was introduced to the Acadians by their new southern neighbors, the Choctaw Indians. So it was a local ingredient probably long before okra even reached American shores. Plus, this powder has a flavor that many gumbo purists, myself included, would consider to be indispensable to gumbo. Oh, sorry, okra. We'll have to play another day. But I know what you're thinking. You're wondering, well, why don't you just use both filet and okra? Well, I'll tell you why. Because we're making soup, not a triple thick shake. Oddly enough, filet powder gets its thickening power from the very same place as okra. Mucilage, the young sassafras leaves, are full of this stuff, which is why it only takes a tablespoon to thicken this whole pot. Now, some more traditional cooks like to put the filet on the table and allow the guests to add it on their own. But I like to give it a bit of a chance to thicken up the whole pot. I also like to put it in early so that the sassafras flavor will have a little time to integrate in and mellow a bit. So we're going to stir that in, then cover and let it sit for 10 minutes before serving. Oh, and don't forget to take out those bay leaves. Now, I understand there are Cajuns out there who like their gumbo on potato salad. Me, I just like plain old rice.
Mr. B, I got to tell you, this is some mighty fine stew you got here.
What happened to your voice?
So that's a showbiz thing. Heck, I'm from Boston.
You're not Cajun.
Nah.
You're not Creole.
No, I'm Irish.
Well, we got ourselves a little wood down on the bayou. Envie means a love of cooking and a joy of eating. And we got ourselves a heaping helping of that right here, don't you know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Any way
Yeah.
you say it, this is just some plain good eats. Hey, Xavier, get yourself a big old spoonful of this, boy. Come on now, don't be bashful.
Go ahead.
Come on now.
Go ahead. I think you'd be better off with a mudskin.
Mudskin. I like that, yeah.
Yeah, I can just flop right up there. The young leaves are